crypto should you buy today to earn 500 or maybe even 1000% profit on your investment by 2025?
I don't know.
We're going to figure this out together today. I'll share with you 5 top projects from my portfolio.
Oh my.
I'll share the criteria for adding assets to my portfolio and my vision for building your portfolio. I'll tell you the criteria I use to add these assets to my portfolio.
I'm ready.
And actually, I'll share with you my vision on how to approach building your own portfolio in order to, first of all, maximize your gains, profits from the upcoming bull market in 2025, and on the other hand, to do it as safely as possible, so you don't lose your money. Before we dive into the analysis of specific altcoins, let's solidify the most basic foundation, namely, what phase of the market cycle we are currently in.
You're goddamn right.
Because it's not that important. What projects did you choose? It's important when you bought them and what strategy you used. I even have a meme in my Telegram channel that goes, "It is not bull market, I'm a genius."
Oh yeah!
So, pay attention to the picture. We can see schematically how a typical market, cycle is structured. This works both in crypto and in the stock market, accordingly. On average, crypto market operates in 4-year cycles. I think we are currently right in the middle of a 4-year cycle, meaning we are on the brink of a new powerful bull market. By the way, looking at this picture, try to answer the question for yourself. Where are we right now? As of now, November 28, 2024, Bitcoin is trading at $95,000. So, in my opinion, we are roughly here, somewhere in the zone of hope and optimism. We've experienced quite a serious bear market over the last 2 years, specifically in 2022 and 2023. Yes, at the beginning of 2024, there was aggressive growth. You remember that bull run in February-March 2024, but then the market went sideways again for 8 months and it was pretty boring. Trading it was almost impossible.
That's rough, buddy.
So now we are moving into a new phase, and how I believe we are on the verge of that very parabolic growth that we are all actually here for in crypto. But here, it's important to note that there's another nuance. Look at how the growth of the crypto market is structured. It's important for us to understand that the crypto market grows asynchronously. It grows with certain classes of assets. Let's say I'll focus your attention on the picture. Typically, after the main pump of Bitcoin, it absorbs the maximum amount of liquidity. Money flows into Ethereum and large cap altcoins. After Ethereum and large cap altcoins show some significant growth, we have a full alt season across the entire market. What is a full alt season? That's when practically any, excuse my language, crap that you buy starts to grow.
Are you serious?
And once again, I return to what I told you earlier. The goal of this video is not so much to show you the tickers, but to show you how the market works. And the fact that we are actually in an ideal situation for buying altcoins in terms of timing. By the way, friends, if you're trading crypto, I recommend doing it on trusted and reliable exchanges. One of those exchanges is Bybit. I've been trading on it for over 3 years. Actually, the registration link is located below this video. If you register through our links, you get a lot of bonuses. First of all, you can get up to $30,000 for registering on the Bybit exchange, depending on your trading volume. You'll get all of this for free. If you register through our links on Bybit and make a deposit of at least $300, we don't need to pay anything for that. Even if you already have an account on Bybit, just reach out to our support under this video and we'll help you transfer your account to our system so you can claim your bonuses. We continue to figure things out together. What phase of the market cycle are we in? So, attention to the screen. Look, you can see the Bitcoin dominance chart right now. What is Bitcoin dominance? A small digression. Bitcoin dominance is the percentage that Bitcoin represents of the total cryptocurrency market capitalization. So, according to the total chart, our total market capitalization is currently $3.23 trillion. So Bitcoin actually accounts for 58.26% of that capitalization. And what is important for us? When Bitcoin dominance rises and Bitcoin is going up, the altcoins just stay put. But at the same time, when Bitcoin is rising and Bitcoin dominance is falling, that's when we actually enter the alt season. So that means an overall market growth. And a little earlier, we discussed that Bitcoin and the altcoins grow unevenly. Again, pay attention to the chart. So right now we can see the Bitcoin chart as of January 7th, 2021, we were at the mark of $40,000 for Bitcoin. So from its previous lows, it has already made about 1,000% growth. Pretty good. Now let's take a look at how the altcoins behaved in the last market cycle and what was happening with them at that time. We're moving on to the total 3 chart. You can find it yourself on TradingView. It shows us the total market capitalization, excluding Bitcoin and Ethereum, so we can see how much the altcoins actually account for. And actually, we can see that here was the market bottom, and we go up to January 2020. In the first year, as you remember, it was January 7th, so by that time the altcoins had only made a 600% increase. It might seem like a lot, but if we look at what happened next, we'll see from that moment, they grew several times more, and the overall growth amounted to over 2,500%, which means almost 3,000% from their bottom on average for the altcoins in the last bull market. And, in my opinion, right now the situation is developing in a similar way. Again, pay attention to the chart since the last bottom for Bitcoin in 2022. At the moment, Bitcoin has already given a 500% increase. So it grew from $16,000 to $98,000. At the same time, if we open the same total 3 chart and look at its lowest values, in 2022, we see that the altcoins on average only gave a 200% increase. So you see what I'm getting at? Yes, right now Bitcoin is very overvalued compared to the altcoins. And if we want to make the maximum profit, if we want to make the maximum amount of profit, multiples to your deposit, even though I don't like throwing around such expressions. But that's really the case. So we need to focus our attention on the altcoins right now. And once again, I believe that we are currently in the perfect market phase by all absolutely criteria. In order to invest in altcoins, so, now that we've figured out why this is one of the best entry points for altcoins right now, why do I expect parabolic growth in crypto right now? It's time to talk about the strategy for selecting altcoins. Let's start with the fact that, first of all, everything that we are discussing is in no case is this financial advice. You make all your decisions independently. The second point is that I am not the government there. I don't have a magic ball that tells me, unfortunately, so I'm sharing my analysis and my arguments with you here. You will make all your decisions independently. And the third point is never. Don't invest in altcoins with money that you aren't prepared to lose. This is really a very dangerous, very risky market, and you should only enter it with money that you are initially prepared to lose. Well, now we can afford to break down specific projects, which I think is important. And along the way, I'll tell you about the strategies that I believe you should use when entering altcoins, and how to exit them accordingly to take profits. The first project that I have in my portfolio is PIF. What is PF Network? You can read more about it on the website cryptorank.io. To be brief, it's an oracle that connects real-world data to the blockchain. Accordingly, it is a competitor to the Link project. Link is currently around the 20th spot in terms of market capitalization and significantly outpaces PIF. But PIF has a very important nuance is that PIF hasn't experienced any serious pumps since the last market. It launched in February 2024. Yes, when there was that euphoria for a couple of months when Bitcoin rose from $40,000 to $20,000, PIF also had a pump, but it wasn't the kind of pumps that altcoins experienced in the last season, which were in the thousands of percent. So we can say that this project is quite new. By the way, I have a separate video on the channel about how I select altcoins for my portfolio. You can also check it out. We'll definitely leave a link in the suggestions. This, by the way, is one of the main criteria for why I don't like altos, which before that, there were major pumps, although we will have some of those today, because they have their pros and cons. The second point about PF Network is that it was initially supported by some pretty large funds. So this is Multicoin, Capital and Delphi Ventures. And as far as I remember, oh yes, it's even written here. They have an interesting market maker who knows how to create beautiful charts, namely Wintermute. Actually, regarding PF, what I want to say is, if we open the chart, we can see that we've already witnessed some kind of test pump. Yes, again, during the last Bitcoin bull run, there was a pump of about 300% from the bottom to the very top. Right now, we've corrected from the peak maximum values by 78%, and currently we're down about 60%. As for my position on PIF and how I approach building a portfolio of such altcoins, I don't initially buy positions all in. So that's also a super important point. An altcoin is like an asset, a tool to be more precise, that can easily fluctuate there, plus or minus 50%, and that's normal. So I made my first purchases of PIF, I think, in the range. So it was roughly at this point, then I averaged down my position here. And accordingly, if I didn't have a position in a mutual fund now, for example, then it seems to me the current point is at the level of 0.45, a completely reasonable value. But still, I wouldn't go all in here if we have some. For the downward correction movement in Bitcoin, you could, for example, take part of your position at 0.45 and leave the second part, let's say, at 0.25.
Not bad, not bad.
If we go somewhere around here to test the previous highs, as for the chart, it actually looks attractive. I like charts that have had some test pumps. Moreover, pay attention that after we left, in this decline, we have very good volumes on this new bullish wave. And it's clear that the tokens are attracting interest. It seems that the token is preparing for some powerful pump. And if we're talking about targets, yes, well, again, let's imagine the current market capitalization is 1.72 billion FDV, which is the total value of all the coins that can be issued. 5 billion we're opening the Link project and looking at the approximate levels it's trading at. So once again, this is a competitor of this project, which is why we're looking at it. So here, the total FTV is at $18 billion. Given that we are in a full downtrend in terms of altcoins, maxi coins are significantly undervalued compared to Bitcoin, and we need to understand that the altcoin market as a whole can grow a lot. But let's open the chart again so you can understand what we're talking about here. We're opening the total 3 chart and estimating how much we can grow using a simple tool. Like the Fibonacci extension, right? We take the previous low, then set it on the past and actually stretch it again to the previous low. We take the previous low, then set it on the past highs and actually stretch it again to the previous low. If we grow like we did in previous cycles, according to Fibonacci, to the level of 1.618, we would be adding an average of 121% to the market capitalization of altcoins. If we grow to 2.618 like we did in the last cycle, then we would be adding 30%. But it is important to understand that this is not for a specific project, but for the entire capitalization as a whole. So it will grow from around 900 billion to, let's say, 2.5 to 3 trillion dollars. And when we look at FTV, there is what Link, for example, this is how we saw it. Now it is trading at 18 billion and PIV, let's say, at 5 billion. What we are not taking into account here is that the market as a whole will grow. And to say that PV has the maximum potential to do this, like 3x and catch up with the Link, is not entirely correct. So, in my view, projects like PIV, which have interesting funds backing them and a compelling concept, can easily achieve something like a 5-10x without any issues. Yes, by the way, friends, not long ago I posted a video on the channel from a year ago, which I recorded at the end of 2023. The link will be in the suggestions. Make sure to check out the selection of altcoins that I bought. At that moment, some altcoins have already given returns of 300%, some 400%, and others around 200%. Just take a look to understand what happened with the projects I invested in a year ago and that I analyzed. On YouTube, opened a year ago, and regarding the mutual fund, I see the situation here as quite promising and attractive, but there are some downsides. What can we say about this project? Because it's obvious that any altcoin we discuss today will have its downsides. So what are the advantages of PIV? Good fundamentals, a clear project, there are competitors, and there's a functioning market. Second, it's a new project and there haven't been any serious pumps. Interesting funds on board that can really pump this project. But at the same time, we have a significant downside, namely a large number of unlocks. So if we open the vesting tab on CryptoRank, then we will accordingly, we'll see in what format and how they will be. You can receive tokens for your funds. You can check that in the tables or you can look at it on the timeline. Well, how would you prefer it? But in any case, we currently have unlocks happening for the funds and they will continue until May 2020. This will mean that people who bought these tokens at a relatively low price will start entering the market with these tokens and selling them. But in my opinion, considering that we are heading into a bull market, and considering that there's a good market maker here who knows how to work with projects, I don't see this as a major issue, like, a global problem where people will come out and start heavily dumping the price. Well, some will sell and some will hold on. So our task, once again, when we talk about selecting projects, is to understand that we shouldn't be trying to catch the absolute bottom, sell at the highest point. Yes, my specific strategy for taking profits is to secure altcoins when Bitcoin's dominance is around 45%. As soon as these values come to dominance, we accordingly open the charts and make some of our own trading decisions there. Up until this point, it makes sense to only consider your current spot positions and not make any profit taking. So for the PV project, make sure to add it to your research pile. You can also find out more about the team and the fund. Just go to CryptoRank and all the information will be there. And of course, this token is traded on Bybit. If you don't have an account, create one using the link below this video and of course get bonuses, including from our project. Well, let's move on. The second project we're analyzing today, and that's in my portfolio, is the NIR protocol. The token is called, what is NIR? NIR is a layer 1 blockchain that supports smart contracts. Again, on CryptoRank, you can read more in detail about the advantages of NIR. I really like how NIR is behaving after the bull market. Let's open its chart. So, after the token was almost rolled back by 95% from its previous highs, it has already grown by 700% since its bottom, and at its peak, it was up 900%. What does this mean for us? What does it say? First of all, let's talk about the project team. It's being worked on. The project's market makers are working, and the guys are not letting the token float freely. So if you open the tokens of a project like Atom or Dota, the picture will be different. Those tokens are at the bottom. E.g., Atom is about $8 after D'ing up, $5 to $6, and they stay there. Here though, the situation is different. So these tokens, they were just lying at the bottom like Atom, which is probably around $8 after the D'ing up, maybe $5 or $6, and that's where they just stay. Here though, the situation is different. First of all, the team is quite active on social media. Secondly, the team works quite actively with the community. Thirdly, the project as a whole, well, it shows signs of its viability, meaning that there are some developments happening, wallets are being released, staking solutions are being launched, new projects are in the works, new applications are being launched, and so on. So we can see that there is indeed movement in the project, and it is important to understand this here. I'm not exactly a super fan of crypto technology. If the developers and team have abandoned the project, there's nothing to gain as they won't support the tokens. They've already taken their money. However, if the team is genuinely working, market makers are funding, and the community is active, we can expect growth. And on the other hand, if the guys are really working on their project, if the market makers allocate money to keep this token viable, if we see that this project also has a community, then we can count on growth. We also have quite a good outlook on this asset. From the perspective of R&D, they are trying to get into, as far as I know, the AI space, meaning they want to somehow connect their smart contracts with artificial intelligence, develop applications using AI and all that kind of stuff. I don't know how well they'll manage to do that, but I hold it in my portfolio. And let's talk about the fundamentals of this project. There are good funds on board. It's clear that for the most part, the funds might have already exited. We definitely don't know that for sure. But notice what the advantage of NIR is. That almost all of its tokens are in circulation. So when we talked about PIV, there were about 30 tokens in circulation. Now with a market cap of $8 billion, almost all tokens are practically valued at $8 billion in the market. This means that there won't really be any new unlocks. While there's some small unlock at 0.78, the overall supply, but this will obviously not affect the price. This tells us that all the tokens have essentially been bought up. And if they didn't dump the price initially, then it's unlikely that the guys will now, during this bear market, they were accumulating tokens, dumping the price, and conducting various manipulations in order to go out now and essentially crash this chart down. But again, if we open the list of funds that are involved here, well, you see up to Anderson Horowitz, Dragonfly, Coinbase, Multichain, and then there's Pantera, and then there's Circa. Well, I don't think these guys came here to just hand us money, take a few times their investment, and then exit during a bull market. In my opinion, with the arrival of a new bull market, the potential of Unira is quite good, meaning it could be 5 or even 10 times. Well, from the current value at around $6, I think that prices like $20 or $30 per token for NIR are quite reasonable. From the perspective of purchases, NIR tokens, let me tell you about my strategy, my portfolio, and how I would act right now. Look, the first purchases of the token, I started buying NIR at around $2.50, roughly in this zone. And then accordingly, I also picked up some at 2.5, then I added more. Right here, somewhere during the dip, I remember placing limit orders around 4.5 to 5. Then I added more, again, right here during the dip at 4.5. In this dip, I don't think I made any more purchases. So my average for Naira is around $3.5, give or take. Right now, the price is trading at $6.5. Is it worth buying NIR at the current price? That's an interesting question. And I'll be honest with you, I'm considering adding more to my portfolio, even give or take at the current levels, especially if we see some correction in Bitcoin and we reach a technically interesting level for me, around $4.5 to $5. So on one hand, it's a nice level. On the other hand, we can see some support here. And actually, if we have some kind of correction right now, I might buy more NIR for my portfolio. Well, just at the current price, I don't see the point in doing that. If you don't have any NIR in your portfolio at all, and you do your research and realize that you want to buy, here's what I would do. I would take, for example, 10% right here. Then I would add another 50%, for example, right here. And I would leave 50% just in case we have some kind of total apocalypse in the crypto market. And we will go to set new lows for the altcoins. It's unlikely. Something will happen to you. Early in the video, we discussed that according to all indicators, we are on the brink of a new bull market. But the market, the structure is unpredictable. There can be all sorts of situations. And I'm quite a conservative investor. I don't go all in on a position, so to speak. I try to divide them up. Dividing positions is safer than going all in. So the point of dividing your positions is to avoid going all in on the market, no matter how much you like the project. No matter how much you like the project, well, let's say a few words from a technical perspective, again regarding the NIR. Why do I like this chart? If we open the daily chart, we'll see that we've once again entered an uptrend. After reaching the maximum highs in October 2023, yes, around $1. How much? The NIR give us 800% growth. We went into such a decline to consolidation, and now a new ascending trend for NIR, consecutive green candles and rising volumes. At the same time, notice that not only are we seeing consecutive green candles, we also have increasing volumes, which also indicates interest. We can also take a look at the volumes for this project, specifically the relative numerical values on the tab. Historical data on crypto rankings shows that with a market cap of 8 billion, the volumes were around $700 million to $500 million a month. All right, but the volumes are really organic. So there were volumes of about 100 million at the beginning of November. So right now the volumes are 500 to 700 million dollars. This tells us that the growth of this token is quite organic, and in my opinion it will keep growing. Next, I'm still holding NIR in my portfolio following the profit-taking strategy. We've already discussed this with you earlier, but we continue with our next project, namely BLD Wolf Network. So, what can we say about Wolf Network? Many people associate it with conspiracy theories, Freemasons, Illuminati, human chipping, and so on. And it really has this kind of, light conspiratorial vibe. But I'm not a supporter of all these conspiracy theories. So we're just analyzing it from the perspective of the project. You can also read the description on crypto rankings. So the point here is that the Wolf Network is made to identify people, to enter all this blockchain data there. All that stuff, so let's break it down as usual, starting with the fundamentals. Let's see which funds are on board. We have a wonderful Coinbase, Anders Horowitz, Multichain, and so on regarding market makers. I don't remember who exactly is here, either Wintermute or DVF, but in my opinion, DVF is not the point here. This token is pumping, and if I remember correctly, let's take a look at the main metrics to see what's good here and what's not. The initial market cap is $2 billion, and the FDV is $25 billion. So what does that tell us? This tells us that the token still has a very large number of unlocks. On one hand, on the other hand, these unlocks are spread out over quite a long period. Again, we can open the wasting tab and see how this whole story will unfold. The next unlock, by the way, is today. So the tokens will be unlocking all the way until 2038. So imagine that some investors have entered this project until 2028. And even now, we can see that the tokens are being distributed in tiny little bits. What does this mean for us? What does this mean for us? Yes, there are indeed very few tokens in the market right now. Yes, there will indeed be a lot of tokens coming out, but it is quite possible that projects like Nira or World Network are a conditional Sala for 2.0, which is not designed to give 5 to 10 X's. Maybe it's designed to give 100 or 200 X's. I don't know, and that's why another principle for building my portfolio that I'll share is diversification. At least in my opinion, if we're investing in the crypto market, investing in altcoins, Bitcoin and Ethereum are the portfolio's foundation. Diversify into 15-20 projects for optimal results. It's impossible to predict which sector or project will grow. Diversifying increases the chance of returns. Why? Because it's impossible to predict with 100% accuracy which specific sector, which specific project, or which specific moment will grow. If you adequately diversify your portfolio, you have a much better chance of hitting something that will really deliver serious X's, and this will cover all those small losses or tokens that haven't grown relative to Bitcoin. For example, depending on your portfolio, when you make diversified bets, choose appropriate projects. At the same time, your chances of making money in the altcoin zone are much higher. Just because when we see a broad market growth, you have a better chance of hitting something that will really deliver 50, 100 X's. And here again, the most important thing is to pull out in time. As they say. Well, let's continue our analysis of VLD. Regarding vesting, we saw that it's not as bad as it seemed at first glance. Actually, we've also come to a conclusion about the funds. Let's take a look at the chart next. So, let's take a look at the chart. Well, let's be honest, it's not as attractive as the projects we've looked at earlier, but don't rush to conclusions. Now I'm going to tell you a lot of different interesting details. First of all, VLD, from its listing, well, from the values at which it could be bought. After the listing, it already gave a 10x return. I'll let you in on a secret. I rode the wave of this whole story. So I initially bought it for $1, then I took profits around 3, and then accordingly I bought here. But I didn't exit at 10. So my entry point was around 2.5. Roughly speaking, it was at 10. I didn't sell it because that's not part of the strategy. And now accordingly, I'm sitting in the zone of my entry point. I even added to my positions a little during those last dips. What can we say about the chart? As far as I remember, what's sitting here? Market maker DWF Labs. And the market maker DWF Labs will draw you these kinds of sticks when they'll decide it's necessary. And the most interesting thing is that they won't let you jump into these sticks. So, if we initially see that interesting people are behind this project, it has a very good token unlock schedule. So, there are no extra people in the market, and the most interesting thing for us, notice that it's not a very strong uptrend. Yeah, well, it's true, it's not very strong. From the last bottom, we've only given 90%. Right now, many altcoins have given 300% in just a few days, like XRP, of some kind that we were analyzing together about a year ago, and here it's only 100%. Well, it seems like nothing, but here's the catch. The fact that along with the rise of the chart, our volumes have started to grow again. And in my opinion, this is one of the signs that we can expect some interesting stories on VLD soon. Again, we open CryptoRank and look at the historical data to see specifically in numbers if there was a boost in volume. Well, overall, yes. Again, it's about 100 million On average, we had trading volume. In the last few weeks, our trading volume has been between 300 to 700 million per day. Should we fly to LD at the current time? Well, as you understand, you make all your financial decisions independently. I told you that I'm in this position with an average entry price of 2.5. So I've been in it for about a year now, meaning I took profits here, then opened up again and bought more at the current moment to take profits. I don't plan to do it earlier than after 5x on VLD, especially since those 5x have already happened. And we can see that the project is alive, and we see that people are working on the project, especially since the trading volumes are increasing. The chart is extremely beautiful. It's extremely beautiful. And in my opinion, once again, there's no point in even thinking about exiting this project before it hits $10 for one VLD. And let me remind you that all these tokens we're discussing today, they are traded on the Bybit exchange. Link is below this video. Go ahead, register, create an account, and also if you already have an account and you want to take our bonuses from which channel, access to training on technical analysis and risk management, message us through the bot via the link. Under this video, our support staff will help you transfer your account, our system, so you can claim all the bonuses from our project. So next up is our fourth project, Celestia, aka Thea, a modular blockchain that provides an availability mechanism. Let's be honest, from a technological standpoint, there's really not much to look at in crypto right now. Yes, there are many new technologies. Yes, there are many new blockchains. L1, L0, L2, and so on. But in essence, we need to look at how interesting the funds are on board, how promising the chart looks and the trading volume. This is what we will look at now. Whether TIA is a breakthrough token or a groundbreaking blockchain, time will tell. In a regular market, all blockchains seem groundbreaking, but in a bear market, they become irrelevant. Tia Celestia has funds from Binance Lab, Polychain, and Coinbase. Market Jump and crypto are also involved. Let's see how they've worked with the chart. So, regarding Tia Celestia, again, we look at the funds on board. We have great players like Binance Lab, Polychain, and Coinbase. Basically, all the ones we need. Plus, Market Jump and crypto are also involved, and those guys know how to do good things. Now let's take a look at how they've been working with the chart. Celestia next, the capitalization is $3.75 billion. In comparison, the competitors like Atom and Dota for this project, well, they are, so to speak, the performers of the last market cycle. The capitalization was, I think, about 7-10 times, maybe even more at the peak of the market. So Dota had a capitalization of around $50 billion. So I think there are at least 5 to 10x potential here. From the current point, we can just draw it like this. Next, we'll be looking at the situation as it develops. From the perspective of how many tokens are in the market, you can see for yourself. So about 30% is in the market and around 55-60% is locked up. Let's take a look at the vesting chart and see how it's distributed. It's distributed a bit worse than on VLD, but still quite reasonable. So, in my opinion, these guys were initially preparing for the fact that the bull market in crypto would be in the 25th year. Yes, and actually most of the tokens are unlocked at that moment. Even though we've seen that recently tokens have been unlocked and unlocked and unlocked, let's take a look at the chart together. And what do we see on the Celestia chart? After Celestia launched in November 2023, the guys created a really good hype. There were 18x's, yes, a 1700% increase since the listing. I remember how the entire Telegram, the whole internet was hyping this thing. I didn't buy it for quite a long time. Just because, well, I could see how much the project had been hyped up, there was no point in jumping in. I started getting into TU, I think, around the mark of $10, $11 after it had dropped 50% from its high. Even at 50-60%, it doesn't really matter. Next, accordingly, what was I doing? I was buying in this zone and making some small purchases, right in this zone. So right now we're exactly at my average entry point. And the most interesting thing is that right now we are in a very confident uptrend. I have a post in my Telegram channel, which I highly recommend you subscribe to. I posted about how I'm still holding futures positions on TIE with leverage, just because I really like how the guys are working with the chart here. So just look at how beautifully they did it. It's been just half a year, even more, about 8 or 10 months. We're taking advantage of people in a sideways downward trend, after which, when the market starts to rise, we're suddenly bringing our project back to life and basically getting everyone into this chart. Just look at this beauty. This is exactly how the turnaround in Bitcoin happened in 2022. If you open the chart, you'll see that January 2023 was misrepresented. As I said, there was a similar situation with Bitcoin. It kept falling, and then it just stagnated for a while. Then it breaks through the 200-day moving average, and actually after that, the growth begins, especially considering that there are some good large funds involved again. Considering that there aren't that many tokens in the market, I think there's potential here. Well, at the very least, we could reach the previous highs, and that's already a 150% increase. Which, in terms of crypto, let's be honest, isn't that much, but realistically, we have the potential to see $40 to $50 for one token here. Throughout 2025, This will be around a 500% increase. Again, my strategy is to take profits when we reach a certain point. In terms of capitalization, Alta's total capitalization will be around $2.5 trillion. At this point, I will consider exiting the market. How to understand that you need to exit the market too? Let me highlight a small point for you. When you feel like you need to buy more or open a position in futures, it's best to sell your house, apartment, or car and invest in crypto. At this moment, it's likely that you should be selling in the market. Consider the last 6 months, 8 months before November, the market was falling. People were selling altcoins, not buying. That was the time to sell and buy crypto. That's the simplest indicator. At that moment, you can sell something and use that money to buy crypto. This is the simplest indicator. If your acquaintances start asking about the price of Bitcoin or if they want to buy a portfolio, then it's probably time to sell. These same alts, these same Bitcoins, but we continue with you. I aim for $40, $50 per token. Building a position is standard. Start by buying a small portion now, then more at $5. I doubt we'll hit new highs this cycle unless Bitcoin performs well. So, if you don't have a position yet, I would start accumulating like this. First, I would take a small portion at the current price, and then I would buy more at $5. I doubt that we'll update our highs in this cycle unless everything goes well with Bitcoin and we don't see a reversal. Right now, Bitcoin is undergoing a prolonged correction for several months. Again, it's unlikely that we'll be updating the highs here. At least the chart looks really nice. There's a strong uptrend followed by a downtrend along with Bitcoin. And actually now is the perfect time, after people have shaken out as much as possible from this asset, to create new spikes upward in order to earn more money for the funds and market makers. We have the final round coming up, the 5th project. And instead of 1, I would like to give you 3 projects. I hope you won't mind. Why 3? Look, all these bets are made on layer 2 solutions on Ethereum. So this is the leader, staked, the token LDO, and this is Optimism. Layer 2 blockchain is an arbitrator, also a layer 2 blockchain. Why did I personally decide to go with 3 projects instead of just betting on one? Well, first of all, if you've been watching my channel for a while, you know that I believe Ethereum is generally undervalued compared to Bitcoin. It makes sense to hold Ethereum in a spot portfolio, but if we want to take a bit more risk and earn more, we can bet on some less capitalized solutions in terms of Ethereum. Yes, on those ecosystems that are built on top of Ethereum and will grow along with it. But most likely, their performance will be much more interesting and noticeable for us. So we won't go into detail on each token. Let's briefly go over the charts. To keep things simple for you, you can again familiarize yourself with it on CryptoRank. LDO is a solution for liquid staking of Ethereum. What is liquid staking? Again, you can read about it on the website. The most pleasant funds are on board. Almost all the tokens are already in the market, so there's really nothing to be afraid of. From the perspective of the chart, let's take a look right here. Look, the chart looks really good too. All right, let's open it on TradingQ. In front of your eyes, the chart, the Lido project. What do we see? It was released in September 2022. Towards the end of the bear market, when despair was high in crypto, it lasted about 800 days. The last one was flat. The project rose over 300% from low to high, showing 250, but actually over 300, then fell into a 77% drawdown. If the Ethereum ecosystem grows, everything will be great. We won't detail CryptoRank volumes, but you can judge. It has now transitioned back to an upward trend. Over the last 6 to 8 months, it wasn't in this trend. It started declining in January. There you can already look at the volumes on the crypto market in detail, but judge the illusion yourself. Now the upward trend has changed again until the last 6 months, but even the last 8 months it started to fall and fell since January. So until November it was down for even 11 months, and now it has transitioned into an upward trend with increasing volumes. It really benefits if Ethereum starts to rise. The Lido project is also significantly undervalued compared to Bitcoin right now, so I think we will see some interesting developments here. Well, at the very least, the previous highs, and yes, that's about 150% growth again, but in my opinion, $10 for one lead, if Ethereum is priced at 5,000 to 6,000, is also quite a realistic figure. Given that we are with you, we're also waiting for the overall capitalization of the crypto market to grow. So, altcoins will not only rise relative to their past charts, but they will also grow in relation to their new values. New charts that will be drawn thanks to the new capitalization of the entire crypto market as a whole. The next project, the Optimism, around layer 2 blockchain, is also, I remind you, a bet that Ethereum will grow. All the projects built on top of it will also rise, and they will do so ahead of Ethereum's own growth. From a funding perspective, everything looks good. From the perspective of vesting, the situation here is not so good because a lot of tokens are still locked. Yes, it's almost at 7 billion, meaning 30 tokens are already in the market, and about 70% of the tokens are currently locked. The project's chart looks extremely attractive. Let's get straight to trading and I'll show you what a pretty chart is. A pretty chart. Ladies and gentlemen, this is when we see on the weekly time frame, which means over a long period, a good confident growth. So if we look at when optimism came out, which was in May 2022, essentially it was just a big flat, but at the same time, it was in an upward channel. Yes, we can see that each subsequent low is higher than the previous one, and the project isn't allowed to drop to the very bottom. I think the upside potential here is about the same as what we discussed with you on previous projects. Yeah, so that's about 5, 7, or even 10 times the current values we could definitely see with the growth of the entire market. And as a little bonus, the favorite project of all airdroppers, Arbitrum, is currently trading at 90 cents. Also, Layer 2. The solution for Ethereum, accordingly, is a bet that along with Ethereum, all its little brothers will also grow. So let's say the chart doesn't look as attractive as it does with optimism. But here, once again, the bet is specifically on the overall growth of the projects, Ethereum ecosystems. And as we mentioned earlier, we can't fully predict which specific project will grow. And a few words about how I personally allocate money across the last 3 projects. Projects merged as Ethereum bets, outcomes unclear, because essentially it's all a bet on Ethereum and its ecosystem, and as we mentioned earlier, we don't know which specific project will give us 5 times returns, which one will stay stagnant, or which one might even give us 10 times returns.
I don't know.
And accordingly, here we make a certain decision. So we have $1,000, we're spreading it out, so 330,000 goes into each project, because for example, Arbitrum was very much undervalued. Yes, its market has really dropped a lot. On the other hand, Optimism has a beautiful, attractive chart. But if we look at it, Arbitrum is much higher, the trading volumes are higher, there are more applications, various platforms have already been opened, and so on. Projects have their own advantages and projects have their own disadvantages. Someone has it there. More capitalization at the moment, someone has more users at the moment, someone has better conditions for raising, and so on. So picking something and saying it's 100% guaranteed is really tough. And with all that said, if you're not new to this, as they say, if you've been trading crypto for a while, then you already know that things aren't so straightforward here. There are projects with perfect fundamentals, perfect tokenomics, and perfect funding, and yet they simply do not grow at all. That's why diversification is, in my opinion, a key point here from the perspective of altcoins. According to the accumulation strategy, I think you already understand how I operate, so my approach is quite conservative. I don't engage in market speculation. I choose the assets that interest me. Next, I make a decision on whether I'm going to buy them or not. I highlight interesting zones for buying, and accordingly, I then divide my purchases into 2 to 3 parts, sometimes even into 4 parts, depending on what kind of asset it is, how long I plan to hold it in my portfolio, and so on. And of course, when you buy altcoins, you need to think ahead about when you will take profits on those altcoins. If you want to keep an eye on our channel more often, subscribe to our channel. Turn on notifications so you don't miss any new videos here. In the reviews that I do a few times a week about the market, I share my spot positions on altcoins. I'm sharing what I'm doing with my portfolio. I buy and sell. Well, we'll be in touch a bit more often until our next meeting.